Hi chess fans, we are looking at the game between Fabiano Caruana with white and Wesley So with black, played in St. Louis 2018. The game was a rapid game and decided who can go to London. This video also contains 10 training questions to help you improve your chess. Fabi played d4 and Wesley So responded knight f6, and after c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, g3, castle, bishop g2, d5, knight f3, d takes, castle, knight c6, queen a4, knight to d5. So black is a pawn up, and white certainly plays to win back this pawn. But now black is attacking the knight with both the bishop and the knight. Training question number 1. Can white play bishop d2 to protect his knight? Bishop d2 would be a mistake. And the reason is that black has knight b6 attacking both the queen and the pawn on d4. For example, after the queen retreats to c2, the knight takes and black wins another pawn. So that's why white dealt with this threat by retreating the queen to c2, and after bishop e2, rook d1, bishop d7, e4, knight cb4, queen d2, queen b6, knight b6 protecting the pawn, knight e5, knight c6. Have a look at this position. White is a pawn down. This pawn is now well protected as well. What is white's compensation in this position? Training question number 2. Okay, very interesting. After knight takes c6, bishop takes c6. Black doesn't want to have a double pawn here. So bishop takes c6. Have a look at this position. Actually, after queen c2, which happened in the game, it's very hard to make a move for black. White controls the center, but white controls also all the squares. So for example, this knight would be taken and white wins a piece. Okay, but the knight can also not go here. If the knight retreats, it's unclear what is a better square for the knight. Same for the bishop. All these squares are squares the bishop cannot go to. Maybe this bishop can move, but where should it move to? It's not doing much here. It's not doing much here. The rooks are totally blocked. The queen first has to move, but the queen can basically just move up and down here. So it's really hard to make a move for black, whereas white can develop just peacefully. White can play the bishop here, play the rook here, and then just take it from there. Maybe push this pawn, maybe push that pawn. So that's basically the compensation. And that's why black actually played f5 in this position. It's really hard to find a move, and Wesley So chose one of the best moves, which is this one here, but it already does look a little bit ugly. The game continued a4, trying to harass the knight. F takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and after queen d7, d5. Training question number 3. By pushing this pawn, white might have been pushing a little bit too much. How can black equalize in this position? Okay, black equalizes after the maneuver e takes, and after knight takes, rook takes, queen c6, pinning the rook against the queen, and the rook drops back to protect the queen and maybe winning this pawn. Training question number 4. How can black now play for an advantage? What is the tactical motive? Okay, Wesley played bishop c5, attacking the rook, but also if the rook moves, attacking the pawn on f2 together with the rook. The game continued queen takes, b takes, rook takes, and now bishop takes f2 check, king d2, c5. White is a pawn down now, and black's pieces look not unactive. So training question number 5. How can white now win back his pawn? There's one little sneaky move. Let's see if you can find it. Okay, rook a2, preparing to play b4 with an attack on the bishop and on this pawn. Game continued, bishop d4, and after b4, bishop d4, and after b4, rook a d8 takes, and white has won back his pawn. And after c6, these rooks already look pretty active, but where should this bishop go? Training question number 6. Where should this bishop go? Bishop f4. Very multi-purpose move. Controls the square d6. Prepares the rook to be able to swing over to the center, which is a square where it also coordinates with the bishop. And it also blocks in this rook. This rook was maybe happy to play on this file. But right now it can't because the bishop is blocking the open file. Very strong move. Rook f8, rook d2, bishop f6, and rook d6, controlling the d6 square. And after rook c8, question number 7, how to improve white's position right now. All the pieces are active and coordinate really well, but what to do now? How to make progress, how to improve the position. Okay, Fabi played h4, very instructive move. It improves the position by taking some more squares away from the bishop. These pieces now here all protect themselves, and the king also has maybe a square to hide behind should the rooks ever invade the position. So nice little move to improve the position. And after h5 the game continued. King f3, of course the king would like to be more central. Rook e1, the rook comes in. Rook e4, trying to challenge the rook on this file. Rook a1 attacking the pawn, but the pawn is protected. And after rook d7, rook a3, king g2, a5, bishop d6. Training question number 8. The engine says that this position is equal, material is equal, but actually white's position is preferable by far. Why is that? Why is white's position more comfortable? Okay, the reason is that white's rook are much more active. So this rook here is doing multi-purpose attack, offensive and defensive tasks. This rook is caging in the king, it's ready to attack any of these pawns, so it's also very, very active. There's two open files, well there's one open file here as well, but this open file cannot be invaded so easily because of this bishop. And the other open files, white's rook control, so that's a big advantage. And this bishop is just doing so many jobs, holding all these pawns together. They can't be attacked. The only pawn that's not protected by the bishop is this one here, but it's protected by this rook. And the bishop also has even some offensive tasks. So all the pieces coordinate really well. Whereas black's pieces, I mean, what is this rook doing here? What is this rook doing here? It's all a bit unclear. This bishop is tied to the defense of this pawn. So white's position is actually much more comfortable. Game continued, and some maneuvering and attacking, trying to find some of the weaknesses and moving around a little bit. Fabi decided to double the rooks here on the e file and exchange a rook. And after bishop d4, rook e4, rook b4, rook to f4, very interesting. Training question number 9. Can black now take this pawn? What do you think? Okay, there's a little tactical trick because after rook takes, black actually loses the bishop. So that's not possible because in the next move, white just takes the bishop. And if the bishop moves away, we will win this rook. So black cannot take and instead played bishop to g1. And the game continued attacking this bishop. Check, rook c7, and now rook takes, and king f7 loses the game, what would you have played in this position? Maybe not so easy to see that this move loses the game. Last remaining question of the video, why is king f7 losing? Okay, there's a simple winning plan, rook a6. And what's the winning plan here? Very easy. This pawn just moves forward and queens, and that's it. So the game continued, king e6, bishop f4 check, discovered attack, king comes close, the pawn moves forward, but now is protected by the rook. Rook comes in to attack, and the pawn just moves forward, now it's protected by the bishop. And after a4, rook a8, there's no way of stopping the queening. The game continued, bishop b2, and here black resigned. Let's have a quick look in this position here. So again, the plan, rook a6 with the plan of moving the pawn forward. What happens if the king tries to come down here? Nothing much, the pawn just marches in the same way, and here it would be even mate. So that plan was not available either. So with this, Fabi wins the game and moves on to London as number 4. And I hope you enjoyed this game and enjoyed also the 10 training questions. And I'm looking forward to seeing you here again soon.